Welcome to the Paul Brad Show. It is Tuesday, January 23rd, and Joe Biden, good old Joey, is still the worst president in American history. Patriots, it's great to be back with you on this fine Tuesday morning. And boy, oh boy, do we have a jam-packed episode for you today. Let's jump right into it with yesterday's White House press briefing, where Karine Jean-Pierre was given a litany of questions from the border to illegal migration to abortion. And this first question here from this reporter is all about the discrepancy in communication with what DHS Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas is saying with the border being secure versus Joe Biden just the other day saying the border is not secure. Here's her response.
Thank you, Karine. On Friday, President Biden said that he does not believe the border is secure, which is different from what Secretary Mayorkas has testified multiple times on the Hill. Why do they have two different views of the security of the border?
I mean, look, the president's been really clear, right? He has been clear that we need to move on the border. The border needs resources to deal with the situation at the border. That's why they're having these conversations at the Senate, on the Senate level, and that's why he's asking for more resources. And he wants to see additional resources, but also changes to policy to address what we've been seeing at the border. So him asking for it, him saying that we need to deal with the border security, as Mayorkas, as we all here have been doing at the White House, I think shows that, yeah, there's an issue at the border. We need to deal with it. And
is she stupid? Honestly, is she stupid? Folks, if you're wondering where I'm just looking for the answer to the question that was proposed. Lady, let's put these on. These are called our listening ears. The question was, why is there discrepancy with what DHS Secretary is saying versus the president? DHS is telling Congress it's secure. The president is telling Jackie Heinrich of Fox News on camera, on tape, that it's not secure. And you're going, well, there's a situation at the border. We just need more funding. We need the money. Well, how does that answer the question at all? And by the way, this money, this border security they're asking for doesn't solve anything. We covered it here on the show. They had it on both plasma TVs. We went in depth with the thing. If you want to know a lot of what this funding is, it's really just transporting illegal aliens from one sector of the border to the other because it's so impacted in certain sectors, they don't have enough room for these people. So it's just to shuffle people around. It's basically just moving, again, people from one part of the border into the interior of the country or another part of the border. But let's let now go ahead, continue.
And we have to act now. There's an urgent need to act now. We want to find a bipartisan agreement to deal with that. And so we feel that meaningful change and additional resources are critical at this time.
Mayorkas, who is tasked with, making sure those resources are applied, if he is saying something different than the president about whether it's secure or not, I guess I just have a hard time understanding why there is a dis.
Welcome. So are all of us. All of us here that watch the show, we're all confused just as much as you are. It's great to have you aboard. Thank you so much for finally recognizing that this lady isn't clear, that there's contradictions left and right, and I'm so glad somebody other than Peter Doocy, Jackie Heinrich, and Philip Wegman are actually speaking up about this whole thing. It's about damn time.
Disconnect here.
Yeah, look, the president has repeatedly said that the immigration system is broken. He has said that from day one, when he put forward his first piece of legislation, his first big policy was to deal on the border. And it's been 3 years. We haven't seen any action. We're glad to see that there's conversation.
That's probably the most truthful thing she's said in a while. Yeah, nothing has happened. Nothing's been done. Correct. 3 years and you're bragging about putting some sort of stupid ass legislation that doesn't solve anything. On day one, 3 years later, nothing's been done. 10 million people pouring across the border. Fentanyl pouring across the border. Sex trafficking is taking place at the border. Child trafficking taking place at the border. Illegal aliens are pouring across the border. 85% of those are being let loose in the interior of the country. You have violent gang members pouring across the border. You have terrorists pouring across the border. You have spies pouring across the border. This is probably the most truthful freaking thing she said in a week. And the reason why I say a week is the other day she was just asked about policy. And she goes, what policy? Correct. What policy, lady? Because you haven't done anything other than making it worse.
Conversation at the Senate, but he has said it is broken. The immigration system is broken, border security, we need more resources. He's been very, very clear about that. And I think those are the actions that he's taken over the last 3 years. Those are, when you look at this bipartisan agreement, obviously those conversation when it leads to the border security has been about that. How can we see significant, meaningful policy changes and also funding, adding funding to that to deal with what's happening at the border? So look, it's broken. The system is broken. The president has said this. That's why on the first day, again, I'm just repeating myself here over and over again, he put forward a comprehensive immigration policy to Congress to deal with that broken system that has been around for decades.
Wow. Sounds just like Kamala Harris, just word salad, diarrhea mouth. Never answered the question why there's a discrepancy between the two. You want to know why? It's because Joe's sleeping. Joey don't know what's going on. So here's a follow-up with another illegal immigration question. Let's see how she does with this one, folks.
Go ahead.
Thank you. Biden admitted Friday that the border isn't secure. Does he have any plans to visit the southern border before the election?
The president visited the border recently.
In January.
Well, yeah, that was a year ago. He's been there.
How the hell is that recent? Like, what is your definition of recent? See the manipulation that goes on? Is that if the reporter did not follow up, and kudos to that lady for following up going, he went a year ago. Well, yeah, so it wasn't recent then. You just lied to everybody. If your definition of a year ago is recent, what the hell? And by the way, he never spoke to a legal immigrant when he went to El Paso. He was there for 3 hours. Probably 2 hours and 45 minutes of that time was him just getting off Air Force One trying to wake up from his nap. He never talked to an illegal alien. He never saw one, you guys, and I mean that in all literal sense. There was thousands of these people in the street, thousands of them, and somehow they just miraculously all got up and walked away 24 hours before Joe Biden ever landed. She said that. She says, oh, well, it was just a coincidence. She thinks we're idiots. This whole administration thinks we're just absolutely stupid. God, I hope they lose. I hope they lose this fall.
In December 2023, there were 300,000 migrant encounters, which is the highest month ever on record. How bad does the border crisis have to be for Biden to take a trip back?
So, just to reiterate what I just said seconds ago, the president has been to the border. He's visited the border. He saw for himself. He spoke to law enforcement. He saw exactly what goes on at the border. The president understands what's going on.
He didn't. We just talked about that. He literally didn't. She's lying. Holy shit. What a liar. This lady is so corrupt. She is so evil to just sit there and spew this nonsense. He didn't see shit. I mean, maybe he did from his own diaper, but that's it. You know what I mean? And it's amazing she gets away with this. I'm gonna lose my shit.
At the border, which is why he included in his national security supplemental, right, which is, again, a request that is when you feel like there's an emergency, you make that supplemental request, which is what the president did. It included border security, it included, obviously, Ukraine and Israel, and it is incredibly important, which is why he continues to push for it. And you're seeing those conversations happening in the Senate in a bipartisan way, a bipartisan agreement, and the president's very thankful to that. And so I'm going to leave that there. He's taking this very seriously. Remember, day one, he put forward an comprehensive immigration legislation. Go ahead, Earl.
He's taking it very seriously, you guys. 10 million people pouring across the border. Give me a freaking break. Did you see how nonchalant she answered that too? Yeah, he was there recently. Well, yeah, he was there like a year ago. Yeah, he was there. Yeah, a year ago. Like, she doesn't care. She can give 2 Fs based on the answer that she gave. And it's wild that she's going to sit there and have the cojones to say, oh, well, we're taking it seriously, but we're going to try to combine border funding with Ukraine funding. If it was really that serious, you'd worry about our own borders before you worry about somebody else's. But that's how Democrats function, you guys. Everybody else gets put first. Legal immigrants get put first. Ukraine gets put first. Iran gets put first. You know, us actual Americans, we're second-class citizens here in our own country is really what happens. Well, we got the man, the myth, the legend, Peter Doocy, doing yeoman's work here with Karine Jean-Pierre about illegal immigration, abortion. I mean, this man lays down the law. Let's roll it.
Go ahead.
Thank
It's been
you,
a
Karine.
while. Hi.
Yes, hello.
Where you been?
Just preparing for this moment.
I think I'm going to disappoint you really badly if you've been preparing all this time for this moment.
Don't worry, Karine, you will disappoint us. You do it every week. There hasn't been a press briefing where we've been impressed so far.
It's not going to be that exciting, I'm
Well,
pretty sure.
let's see. Karine, why do you think it is that more and more people polled feel like over time, President Biden is getting less and less mentally sharp?
Which poll is this?
Yes.
ABC has President Biden's rating for health since May down 5 points, and for mental sharpness down 4 points.
You know, I have to say that's a little confusing for me, because if you look at what this president has done the last 3 years.
What? 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 Did anybody else just spit out their coffee? Hopefully you didn't get in a car crash, folks. Holy lordy, pull over on the side of the road because this is about to get wild. You can't sit there and process the fact that Americans think this guy is deranged and delusional? Really, Karine? You work with the guy. Everybody sees it. He fights with his teleprompter. He gets confused. He looks for dead people in the crowd, Karine. Just 2 days ago, he was talking about meeting a lady and taking pictures with her. And then he realized she was never there in the first place. Oh, I got confused. He doesn't know how to walk off stage. He has to be escorted by his own wife. He has to be escorted by Secret Service. Not just to get off stages, but literally to get to the Oval Office. His own staff is afraid that he's going to trip over a camera cable in the Oval Office. What do you mean? This is some wild stuff, man. We just covered a story in yesterday's episode where Kamala Harris said, yeah, he's sharp. No, he's super smart. He could see around corners is what she said. They think we're idiots. I know I keep repeating myself, but who the hell believes this? I'll tell you who. A lot of Democrats think this guy is just, he's just sharp as a tack. Yep, this guy has it all together. Jesus Christ.
Historical pieces of legislation, right? When it comes to bipartisan infrastructure deal, many presidents before, like your favorite president, had said that.
Who's my favorite president?
Why don't we let the American people guess? But had said, wait, no, let me finish. You asked me a question, I'm going to. No. Let me finish. And you'll guess who I'm talking about. Who used to say, Infrastructure Week, which was a punchline, became a joke. And now we are seeing infrastructure decade because of this president. There's the Chips and Science Act, right? There is the Inflation Reduction Act. These are legislation that is going to have a difference for generations to come, right? And so this is something that this president has done. That's pretty sharp for this president to have been able to do that. Let's look at the economy. The economy now, unemployment is under 4%, 14 million jobs created. The economy is in a better place than when it was when he walked in. That's just a fact. That's just the data. And we're seeing.
Folks, could you get any lower in the economy when the globe is shut down? Nobody's working. The roads were clear. The businesses were shut down. And she's going to sit there and brag, well, look what we've done. We came back. Yeah, everybody just went back to work. And then on top of that, you're just going to try to brag about your job creation when everybody just went back to work? You didn't do shit. It was going to open up regardless, and you're going to sit there and brag about it? What the hell? He didn't do anything. He pumped the economy full of trillions of dollars at 2.3 trillion to be exact, and, caused 40-year inflation, 9.1%. Y'all lost thousands of dollars. You're still paying up the wazoo at the gas pump, at the grocery store because of all this stuff. So I guess we have him to thank for that, but they're not going to brag about that one. They're going to brag about all this job creation and just us getting royally screwed because of their policies and their implementations of, everything that's happening domestically. No, it's fine, you guys. This spinning here is remarkable.
Consumer sentiment is going up. And we saw just in December how people spent more. And we hadn't seen that in some time. So I think you needed a president like President Biden to get that type of stuff done. Someone who's had Senate experience, someone who was the VP, vice president under President Obama, obviously, and someone who has been a pretty effective president over the last 3 years.
Okay, following up on immigration, authorities in Fairfax County, Virginia, ignored an ICE detainer. They released an illegal immigrant from Honduras who was charged with sexually assaulting a Virginia minor and production of sexual abuse material. Doesn't that go to show that as record numbers of people appear at the border, you guys have no idea what kind of people are coming into this country?
Let me just say, first of all, this is why the president is having negotiations with the Senate, senators, Republicans and Democrats, right, for the past couple of weeks to deal with what's going on at the border security, right, as it relates to border security. This is why the president on day one put forward a comprehensive immigration plan that more than 3 years now, Congress didn't do anything about. But he's appreciative that we're having these conversations in the Senate.
Folks, I've said it time and time again. Since day one, when he went in office, who had all three branches of government, starts with a D, ends with rat, Democrat. They didn't solve anything. They just made it worse. So now he wants to negotiate.
We've deployed additional troops and federal agents to the border who have, by the way, returned more than 482,000 individuals since May. That's what we've been able to do. We've led the largest expansion of lawful pathways and that we haven't seen in some time. The president continues to have diplomatic conversation with Mexico, who have actually taken actions to deal with the situation. There's more work to do. There's more work to do.
What have they done? Write in the live chat for me, please. Write in the comment section. What the hell has Mexico done? Why are they not building a border wall? We've seen footage of the Mexican police escorting buses full of migrants to the border. And she's going to sit there and tell you, well, hey, just like the president, they're doing everything they can to stop this illegal immigration. Really? Because I don't see any of them doing that. I really don't. I see them waving them through. Andale, 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 come on in. That's what I see.
We understand that. We have said that. You've heard that from the president on Friday. We understand that there's more work to do. We need more resources. We need more funding, which is why we're having these negotiations on the Hill. But Republicans in the Senate is working with us. Republicans in the House are trying to get in the way. So it's up to them. Are they going to help? Are they going to actually deal with an issue or continue to move forward at a political stunt?
And as President Biden tries to make the national conversation more about reproductive rights, abortion, how many weeks into a pregnancy does he think abortion should still be legal?
So you've asked me this question before. I've been very clear. The president's been very clear. We want to see the protections in Roe. We want to see Roe become the law of the land. That's what the president wants to see. That's what the president believes in. And let me be very clear here. It's not some sort of shift that the president is making. Majority of Americans.
I want to pause it right there. Folks, she acts like we can't go back. We covered this story. Here she is in September 24th of last year. Maybe 2022. It was a year ago. So a long time ago. This might be September 23rd, 2022. That's how long ago this is. You tell me if she's clear here with her exchange between Peter Doocy regarding abortion and how long Joe Biden's willing to allow this to happen. Check this out.
Okay, Peter.
Thanks, Karine. Following up on your topper, does President Biden favor any limits on abortion?
We've been very, very clear here. Since you're talking about my topper, I was talking specifically about Senator Lindsey Graham.
And your position on his plan is clear. 15 weeks is unacceptable.
I was speaking directly to what Republicans are trying to do.
So
they are calling for a national ban, which takes us backwards. Which will
weeks, right?
It's a national ban which will take us backwards and will put at risk the health of women. And here's the thing about this, Peter, it's not just national ban on abortion. We're talking about privacy, we're talking about contraception, we're talking about marriage. That is what extreme Republican officials are trying to do. That's what we're speaking to. I'm not going to get into specifics here. I'm just going to lay out what they have said that they're going to do.
Why not get into specifics? The Republicans are saying we don't want abortion after 15 weeks. Why can't you say how many weeks a president thinks the limit
as you
should be?
know, Kevin McCarthy put out the GOP agenda.
I'm not asking about Kevin McCarthy. I'm asking about Joe Biden and his position on abortion. How many weeks?
Peter, I'm answering your question. What Republicans are trying to do is take us backwards. They're trying to take away the rights and freedoms of Americans. That's what we're calling out, and that's what we're going to continue to call out. House Republicans oppose a pharmacy bill that would deny women essential medications. As of September, 166 House Republicans have signed onto a heartbeat bill that would decide abortion at the federal level, even though 28 of those members have since said decisions on abortion should be left to the state. And this week, a Michigan GOP official said he wants to ban contraception. So we should really listen to what Republicans are trying to tell us. And that's what we are speaking out against, and that's what we're going to talk about the national ban that Republicans are continuing to push when majority of Americans do not want that.
We are all covering the Republican plan. I'm just, why can't you say how many weeks for Biden?
No, go ahead. I answered your question. Go ahead, Courtney. I did.
Why can't you say,
go ahead, Courtney.
I wanted to ask you.
Super clear, though, you guys. Again, that was September 23rd, 2022. Peter is asking the same exact question just yesterday. She wasn't clear then. She's not clear now.
Want to see their protections protected by the folks who are here in Washington, D.C., in Congress, by this president and the vice president. That's the president is standing with majority of Americans. We saw that in the 2023 midterm elections, and we saw that in 2022, not midterm election, but the 2023 elections and 2022 midterm elections. They've been very clear. We need to stand for freedoms, for make sure women have the right to make their own decisions, personal decisions on their body, on their health care. That's where majority of Americans are. Guess what? Republican officials, they're not there. They're not with majority of Americans. So the president's going to continue to stand with majority of Americans on this.
So she's going to continue and say she's being clear, but she's not being clear at all. I mean, she is so not clear that another reporter towards the end of the press briefing had to get more clarification on her supposedly being clear on how many weeks.
Karine, you said to Peter that the president wants to see Roe restored. It's still not clear to me, though, if he supports the late-term abortion restrictions that were included in Roe.
Well, if it's in Roe, then that's what he wants to see. I'm just not going to get into it. It's whatever is in Roe, what Roe was when it was a constitutional law, that's what the president wants to see restored. He's been very clear about that.
He also said he wants to be a president for all Americans, but how in this situation with this issue does he best represent the pro-life Americans who want to see more unborn babies saved?
What I will say is majority of Americans wants to see their rights protected, wants to see women have their rights protected, want women to be able to make those deeply, deeply personal decisions on their bodies, on their own, not politicians. That's what majority of Americans want to see. And so the president's going to stand with majority of Americans on this issue.
Do those unborn babies have any rights then?
I'm not going to get into that question. I've been very, very clear about this, where majority of Americans stand. And that's what matters. But the president wants to see Roe become the law of the land, and that's what he's going to continue to ask Congress to do. Thanks, everybody.
Oh, I don't want to get into specifics. I'm not going to answer that question. I mean, it's insane. This stuff is wild coming from the White House. And, look, to be fair, Joe Biden probably does want late-term abortion. That thing is probably going to be viable. I should say that human being is going to be viable, and he's still okay with it. Let's be fair. That's why she doesn't want to be out in the open about it, because it's so radical. It's so insane that they're willing to chop up babies now, all because it's inconvenient. That is majority of births. If you want to see a full-fledged chapter, we wrote about it in our book. We have a whole chapter dedicated about abortion. I walk you through from abortion going back all the way to ancient Egypt. I take you through the whole history of it. I take you through Griswold v. Connecticut, into Roe v. Wade, and how basically these shadows, these emanations were just, laws were just created out of whole cloth. They literally just made it up out of thin air. Even the own clerks of the Supreme Court justices of the time said Roe v. Wade was bad law. Their own clerks said it was terrible, that it didn't make sense. So I recommend you highly buy the book, Trojan Horse How the Left is Destroying America. The link is in the description. You guys are going to love it. Well, speaking of this, remember how Karine Jean-Pierre just said, I don't know, about like 2 minutes ago, that the Biden administration was doing everything they possibly could to sit there and fix this illegal immigration issue? Well, we have a big L, folks. We lost a big one yesterday. So we just got kicked right in the nuts. Supreme Court authorizes Biden administration to tear down Texas razor wire securing the border. The Supreme Court ruled 5-4 on Monday that the Biden administration may cut through or tear down razor wire that the state of Texas has placed along the U.S.-Mexico border as it seeks to stop foreign nationals from illegally crossing into the United States. We just lost big time, folks. How do you feel about that one? Not a very conservative court, it sounds like, anymore, does it? The short order noted that Justice Clarence Thomas, Justice Samuel Alito, Justice Neil Gorsuch, and Justice Brett Kavanaugh all would have denied the Biden administration's request. The Texas Governor Greg Abbott had roughly 30 miles of razor wire installed along the border near the Rio Grande at Eagle Pass to slow down the flood of illegal immigrants coming into Texas due to Biden's open border policies. The state filed a lawsuit after the U.S. Border Patrol repeatedly cut through sections of razor wire to let illegal aliens into the United States, saying that they damaged state property and were trespassing. Our own feds, our own people, are allowing this to happen. This is corruption on all levels. And I'm not just saying that because the Supreme Court didn't vote in the direction that I would have liked. They know a lot more about this stuff than I do, and I'm willing to take what they said, but we are getting reamed right now on all fronts. The razor wire was installed as part of the Operation Lone Star, which Abbott launched in March of 2021 due to Biden refusing dereliction of duty to enforce U.S. immigration law and Biden's policies leading to an explosion in illegal immigration on the southern border. Where's all the Republicans at on this? Honestly, where is everybody at on this? We're voting for these idiots. Like, honestly, like, how often do you really see on C-SPAN, Fox, or anybody, like, actual mainstream Republicans rising up saying enough's enough? Why are they not going down there at the border and laying down the law saying this is bullshit? I mean, I know they got governors from different sectors down there with Abbott, but where's more of a push here? It's all along the border, but the main focal point here is Eagle Pass. This comes again from Sergeant Cordova. We're getting high crossings from different parts of the world. The operation has detained nearly 500,000 illegal aliens with nearly 40,000 facing criminal charges. It's okay, you guys. Everybody wants a better life. They're all coming here for work. Don't worry about it. Even though there's 40,000 facing criminal charges that we know of. There's like 2 million, 3 million gotaways, which we don't know about. More than 453 million doses of lethal drug fentanyl has been seized during the course of the operation. That's just what was seized. Can you imagine how much is being poured into the country from China that's coming through our southern border and killing our youth and adults? Democrats love this. And clearly, you know what? Clearly, so does our Supreme Court. Following the Supreme Court ruling, Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton vowed that the fight is not over. Good, Ken. Give him the double middle finger. The Supreme Court's temporary order allows Biden to continue his illegal effort to aid the foreign invasion of America, Paxton said. He's not wrong. The destruction of Texas's border barriers will not help enforce the law or keep American citizens safe. The fight is not over, and I look forward to defending our state's sovereignty. But don't worry, you guys. Biden has it handled. Since day one, he's been working on this. He's losing sleep over it. Notice that Karine Jean-Pierre in the White House press briefing never said it was a crisis. It was a situation. We're trying to figure and handle out what's taking place down there. It's not a crisis, according to them, you guys. It's just a situation. It's not a big deal. But they're doing everything they can. And that everything they can is to cut razor wire, get rid of the shipping containers, the barrier of the makeshift border wall, so that the flood of illegal immigrants can continue to pour into this country. Wild. So it wasn't just Paxton elaborating on that portion here. He did follow up, and this segment's actually from Fox News. It's just a little bit of a blip here, but Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton on Monday promised the fight is not over after the Supreme Court granted an emergency appeal by the Biden administration. Yeah, you heard. Yes, you are correct. Granted an emergency appeal, and who appealed it? The Biden administration. All the while they're saying they're going to try to stop this thing. They're lying. Just outright lying to everybody. They're not doing everything they can. If anything, they would be supporting Texas in this initiative to put up a barrier of razor wire and buoys and a border wall. None of the funding that they want to implement here is a border wall, by the way. So this whole thing of like, well, we're giving record funding to the border. Okay, so you're just wasting our money. Great. You're going to brag about wasting all of our money on a problem that's only going to be exacerbated because you're spending it in the wrong places. This doesn't piss you off. I don't know what does, folks. The Supreme Court's temporary order allows Biden again to continue his legal effort to aid the foreign invasion. The destruction of Texas's border barriers will not help enforce the law or keep American citizens safe. Correct, Paxton. Correct. The fight is not over, and I look forward to defending our state sovereignty. So we'll see if he actually follows through on that, but I hope Texas does not give up, man, because that is some bullshit with what's taking place here. Big L for us, folks. We just got kicked right in the cojones. And you know what? Speaking of the Supreme Court, this is what they're allowing to happen here. If you recall, we covered a story of how a woman's autistic daughter was, and I believe this is the story, was murdered and raped by an MS-13 gang member, and he stole $6 off her dead body. This is the stuff the Biden administration wants. And so you know what? Good on this mom who is allegedly suing the Biden administration for $100 million. Normally, I'd be pissed about this because at the end of the day, it's our money that's going to somebody else's pocket. But you know what? She should have sued these motherfuckers for more. I don't mean to cuss, but when you have this happening, it's disgusting. It's disgusting. Who the hell rapes a woman? Who murders anybody and then sits there and tries to claim asylum? Joe Biden wants this to happen. Democrats want this to happen. If they didn't, we would have a nice border wall. You wouldn't be cutting razor wire. You wouldn't allow any of this to happen. You can't say that you care, but are allowing this to continue to happen. A mother whose daughter was allegedly raped and murdered by a member of the infamously vicious MS-13 gang is suing the Biden administration over her daughter's death. Remember when Donald Trump called MS-13 animals? And then you have this knucklehead here and the rest of the Democrat Party and the media massaging the shoulders of the Democrat Party, saying, oh my God, look at that. He's calling all illegal aliens. He's calling all immigrants. He's calling all immigrants animals. How disgusting and deplorable. What a bigot. Because they can't separate the two. They can't separate that this guy, MS-13 gang member, that raped and murdered an autistic girl, and I believe she was autistic, is an animal. Like, what do you call that? A savage? Okay, fine. But then they're going to spin and go, oh, look what you're saying to all immigrants. No, we're not. My father was an immigrant. He came here legally. Not an animal like these people. Holy lordy. Cammie Nobles, the mother of a 20-year-old, accused the Biden administration of playing Russian roulette with our lives. Yes, they're still doing it, by the way. In her lawsuit, which was filed last week, the $100 million suit accuses the Department of Homeland Security and the Department of Health and Human Services of failing to stop the teenage El Salvadorian gang member from entering the country. Nobody at the border did their job and checked his background. Of course not. Hamilton, who had autism, there you go, was strangled with a phone cord on July 27, 2022 in her Frederick, Maryland trailer home, according to the police. The 17-year-old illegal immigrant suspect had run away from holding facility and ended up at Hamilton's roommate in the trailer home, or ended up as Hamilton's roommate in the trailer home. He ends up in a trailer home as a roommate with lovely Kayla that was leased out by another illegal immigrant. It's just, it's insane. It just keeps adding on. More illegal immigrant gets another illegal immigrant into a home. Oh, God. And this all is being exacerbated by guess who? Good old Joey. And then they're going to tell us that, oh, well, the border's secure. We get told that by DHS Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas. Then Joe Biden has a slip up, a gaffe last week saying the border's not secure. Then Karine Jean-Pierre is asked, like we saw in our first segment, hey, who's right? Why is there discrepancy between the two? Why is one end saying that the border is open, and on the other end, the border is not secure? Or the border is secure versus not secure. You know what the hell I'm talking about. I'm all riled up right now. So insane stuff here coming from the Biden administration. So I hope this woman wins her lawsuit. I hope she gets a lot more money because her daughter's life is worth a hell of a lot more than $100 million. Sad stuff happening there. Well, speaking of other crazy shenanigans, In-N-Out, which I love, by the way, we did do a poll, which is better, In-N-Out or Shake Shack. In-N-Out wins big time. Shake Shack's garbage. Okay, I just had it recently in San Diego which is a dumpster fire of a city right now. Just homeless everywhere, just feces all over the floor. If you haven't seen our live stream, it's like 12 minutes. You're going to see about 50 homeless people defecating in the streets, pissing on buildings, me almost stepping and almost throwing up in feces. So In-N-Out here, burger, to close its only location in Oakland due to crime. If it means anything, and maybe somebody can correct me on this, I've actually never heard of an In-N-Out closing. People wait hours for an In-N-Out burger in other states. Luckily, I'm in the home place of where In-N-Out is. I mean, In-N-Out's fabulous. It's a national treasure here, a state treasure. I don't wait an hour for a burger. Wait like 10, 15 minutes max. But I've never heard of them closing a store. Well, In-N-Out Burger announced on Sunday that it's closing its only location in Oakland, California. Why could that be? Oh, gee, why would they be closing a location? Oh, because it's due to crime. That's why. And who runs Oakland? Oh, Democrats run Oakland. That's right. Due to crime making the neighborhood dangerous for employees and customers. Huh. See how Democrat policies really just screw over everybody? So now all these people are out of a job, which In-N-Out pays really well, by the way. They usually pay a higher than the minimum wage, the state minimum wage. But don't worry, you guys. They have it all covered here. Democrats completely know how to run the show. Annual crime statistics released by the Oakland Police Department show that robberies in the area jumped 38% between 2022 and 2023, while burglaries increased by 23%, according to the report from the Mercury News. The location that is closing is only a couple miles away from Oakland International Airport. Chief Operating Officer made the announcement saying that despite taking repeated steps to create safer conditions, our customers and associates are regularly victimized by car break-ins, property damage, theft, and armed robberies. I love this company because you know what? Everybody else in San Francisco, Sacramento, all these lefty companies, these lefty areas will sit there and sugarcoat it, going, our sales just weren't where it was. And you have to read 38 paragraphs down below. And they finally go, oh, what was the crime? They just come out and say the shit. Yeah, it's the crime. We're tired of it. We don't have the money. We don't want to have a lawsuit against us. We don't want our insurance going through the roof. It's not a good thing that's happening. So you know what? Peace out. We're done. At least they're open about it. God, I love In-N-Out, man. Even if they're not technically a Republican or conservative joint, they've contributed to both parties. At least they're out in the open right there going, yeah, the theft sucks around here. We're gone. It's amazing. And Democrats still can't wrap it through their head. I say wrap it through their head. You get what I'm saying. Crime at the location was so bad, the security guards told a local publication that they took more theft reports than any other property they patrol, saying that they see about 5 break-ins at a location on a regular day. But don't worry, you guys. Everything's safe and sound in these Democrat-ran areas. They know how to run things really well. We are grateful that the local community, which has supported us for over 18 years, and we recognize that this closure negatively impacts our associates and their families. Yeah, because now you're out of a freaking job. Additionally, this location remains a busy and profitable one for the company. He's going, look, we're killing it. It's awesome. There's no issues in terms of getting business. It's just the crime is so bad. Additionally, this location remains as busy and profitable for the company, but our top priority must be the safety and well-being of our customers and associates. We cannot ask them to visit or work in an unsafe environment, nor should you. So what's astonishing here is we covered a story about drug users posting up flyers saying that they should be able to do drugs in the open and not be arrested for it. And by the way, it should be given for free by the taxpayers, by the city. And I mean, if you haven't seen that article, it'll probably be up there on one of the last videos that show up at the end when we play our outro video. Click on it and read it, because it is one, it's hilarious, and two, it's head spinning, because they go as far going, well, our drug use and homeless and all this other stuff, this doesn't cause any issues for businesses. Really? Sure it does. People don't want to sit there and eat a burger in front of a crackhead that's smoking crack cocaine off a prostitute's ass right in front of them. Nobody wants to do that. Nobody wants to step over human waste, meaning poop, to get into a doorway into In-N-Out. Nobody wants to sit there and eat a burger when a gun's being pointed to their head because they're about to be robbed. Nobody wants any of that. But this doesn't work. For us, it's common sense. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, no shit. Nobody wants to go get a burger and then see their freaking car on bricks because their tires are gone. I know it's common sense, you guys, but clearly that's being lacked from a portion and segment of this country known as the Democrat Party. And even within it, it's mostly progressive left and these leftists. So head spinning stuff. Well, we're going to end it off here with a video. I haven't seen it yet. I've been looking forward to it. It's Elon Musk slamming diversity, equity, inclusion during discussion with Ben Shapiro, the American icon. could come out of a George Orwell book. So we have a clip here in just one moment. I promise we'll get to it, but let's do a little bit of backstory of what's actually going on here. Tech entrepreneur Elon Musk, who owns the social media giant X, thank God. So hopefully this election is a little bit different in terms of getting free speech out there to people. Because if you remember, they were censoring people. They were sitting there shadow banning conservatives. They were legitimately silencing conservatives and suspending their accounts, like Charlie Cook, Jordan B. Peterson, the editor-in-chief of the Federalist, all sorts of people for saying obvious things, by the way. Like, when I say obvious, meaning men are men and women are women. People go, no, there's no way they were banned for that. No, they were. Charlie Kirk, Jordan B. Peterson, and the editor-in-chief of the Federalist paper were all banned and silenced on YouTube, not YouTube, rather, Twitter, for just saying that much, just a pure fact. It's like somebody saying, hey, the sun rises in the east, sets in the west. You're banned. But it does. It's a fact. So hopefully we see something a little bit different here with Elon Musk having control of X. So he blasted diversity, equity, inclusion, and its prevalence on college campuses on Monday. Hope you all enjoy paying $100,000 for an education, and all you're doing is having your son or daughter be freaking indoctrinated. Musk appeared with the Daily Wire editor emeritus Ben Shapiro at the European Jewish Association conference in Poland on Monday. Musk and Shapiro discussed topics such as anti-Semitism, free speech, and social media during a roughly hour-long discussion. So there's a lot more to this, but the clip here is specifically about diversity, equity, inclusion. You should always be wary of any name that sounds like it can come out of a George Orwell book. So let's go ahead and roll this together.
Out of 330 million Americans, tiny percentage of the population. But that ideology that the Jews are an oppressor class matches up very nicely and very closely with what is a conspiracy theory. At root, anti-Semitism is a conspiracy theory, and it's a conspiracy theory about power. And if you read Nazi literature, the Nazis literally promoted the idea that Jews were, of course, this small caste of people who were running all of the major industries, who were standing behind all world power. Hitler's suggestion is that it was world Jewry that stood behind Germany's loss in World War I, and then the Allies' unwillingness to make a deal with Germany prior to World War II. And that theory of power and group identity is really ugly, and we see echoes of it today. I mean, the diversity, equity, and inclusion ideology that basically suggests that all of society is a vast pyramid of group identity, and that at the very top are the people who are successful, and that those people are exploiting everybody else. And we can tell who's successful by their group identity, not by their level of success, by their group identity.
Yes.
That matches up incredibly.
I mean, it's pretty amazing on how well that matches up. We'll come back to the clip here. It's actually delayed. But Ben Shapiro is not wrong. Whenever you're seeing diversity, equity, inclusion, and if you look at the top bracket there, on those that are actually pushing this agenda, it's amazing in the association or connection that you see between the two. I mean, there is such a high correlation. It is pretty wild.
That matches up incredibly. It syncs up almost a Venn diagram circle with anti-Semitism.
Absolutely. The diversity and equity inclusion, I mean, you should always be wary of any name that sounds like it could come out of a George Orwell book. Okay? That's never a good sign. Because it sounds like, sure, diversity, equity, inclusion, these all sound like nice words, but what it really means is discrimination on the basis of race, sex, and sexual orientation, and it's against merit, and thus I think is fundamentally anti-Semitic. So, I think the whole, all of the sort of all of the riots that were in the major cities and college campuses, I think was a shocking wake-up call to, I think any sort of civilization or civil-minded person, really.
And what's fascinating with his comment there is that diversity, equity, inclusion, the way that the left talks about it is not the way that it's actually implemented. So the way that they implement it is that you're sacrificing one group for the benefit of another. For example, affirmative action is like diversity, equity, inclusion, right? You're trying to meet certain quotas. You're trying to make sure that you have one single proportion for one ethnicity or race, another proportion for another ethnicity or race, and you must meet these quotas. And so you might have somebody that's definitely qualified to get in that said university, but because you need to have another quota, now you're screwing over the people that were good enough to get in that university in the first place, that have better scores, better grades, better merit than the other person that you need to just fill, again, a diversity quota. But they don't see it that way. In the same way, like we talked about yesterday, they're going to do the Black National Anthem at the Super Bowl again. Well, why do they get a national anthem, which I don't agree with, by the way, but nobody else does. So you're alienating a huge swath of the country where we already have a national anthem that's a unifying message. It's a unifying symbol of this country that encompasses all Americans, regardless of race. Why? Because we're all Americans. It has nothing to do with our race, but has everything to do with our character. But they don't see it that way. They're all about race. The Democrat Party will always be about race, and they have always been about race since their inception. So I hope you enjoyed today's episode, folks. I always have a blast hanging out with you all. Again, we have a book. We got a ton of links in the description. If you haven't seen Spooky Adventures, our second channel, where we always dive in to the paranormal, the supernatural, and the unexplained, I highly recommend you go subscribe over to our second channel. We would love for you to join us on supernatural content and paranormal. And also, we got baldbrad.com, we got t-shirts, we got mugs, and we have a book, Trojan Horse, How the Left is Destroying America. Always appreciate hanging out with you fine patriots. We are friends. We are family. Let me know what you enjoyed about today's episode. And folks, I'll see you tomorrow here on The Bald Brad Show.